In this video, we're going to focus on blending the lower spoke on our steering wheel into the swept portion. In order to do this, we need to create some more references and some more geometry. We want to make sure that we create a sidewall spoke that blends into our steering wheel, and then that we fill in the portions and make sure that everything blends nice and smooth. In order to do that, let's start a sketch on this bottom face, rotate this around, and use Convert Entities to bring these lower sections into our sketch and turn them into construction geometry. The reason I'm doing this is because we need to create some more reference surfaces to help blend the steering wheel together. I'm going to create a vertical line that has a horizontal relation with the two endpoints and give this a dimension. It's going to be 2 millimeters away. What I need to do is create a boundary surface that goes from this edge into the blended edge on our steering wheel. In order to do that, I'm going to leave a lot of the other surfaces out. So we're going to end the sketch, create a boundary surface, and simply blend it into this section. Now, the reason I like to do this is I like to limit the amount of interaction I have with controlling the curvature on our surfaces. This allows SolidWorks to do the work of blending these surfaces together without introducing any extra tension into our surfaces. I'm going to grab the ends of these handles, drag them in, and same thing with our straight line, drag them in a bit. Now I want to use some relations here. For the edge blending into my steering wheel, I want to make sure I use equal curvature to face. I'm going to rotate that around and I'm going to change the weight of my handle to 1/4 instead of 1 and take a look at what we've created. So this segment is blending into my steering wheel. I'm going to go ahead and knit everything together. And knit all these sections. This will allow me to create some sections between these and then fill these sections in the top. So let's start again with a boundary surface. We're going from this area to this area. And again, I'm going to just drag these handles down to a certain area. I'm going to use equal curvature to face. Now keep in mind that equal curvature to face on a straight section isn't going to produce very much interaction with the geometry. But what I'm looking for here is a nice smooth transition between the edges. I'm going to go ahead and leave the weight of each handle at 1 and OK this. Let's do the same thing on the bottom as well. A boundary surface between this edge and this edge. Drag the handles to an area where there's not a lot of change in curvature. And apply curvature to face relations. It's always important to make sure that these curvature to face relations are going the right direction. In our case they are, and all the curvature combs actually look fairly smooth, so we're going to OK that as well. I'm going to knit these to the rest of my surfaces as well. Now we can use the filled surface option. I'm going to grab filled surface. I'm going to right click on one of these blue edges, say select open loop, apply to all edges, and do curvature. This allows SolidWorks to do the math behind the scenes and allow this to blend into all the areas where we need. Hit OK. You can see that the preview is actually showing quite a different story than the actual surface that's created. This happens quite a bit because we're introducing a lot of different curvature where we're blending all these together. Part of the reason is the 1/4 blend that we did in this area here. We can go back, we can alter that boundary surface, we can change that curvature relation to something a little bit higher, maybe half. That allows the surface to blend a little bit better. So even though you have these tools such as filled surface that will allow you to blend these surfaces together, it's important to note that when you're trying to introduce some rapid changes in curvature, a lot of times the math in the background of the program has a lot of trouble computing. So you need to be careful what you're creating and how you're creating it. Let's go ahead and create a filled surface, select open loop, and again we're going to do curvature and allow that to patch. Now I can knit all these together and OK that. The last thing we want to do before we finish this off is patch the end section here. We can do this before or after we mirror this, but I think we should go ahead and do it after the fact. So I'm going to select my right plane. I'm going to mirror this body across. I'm going to knit surfaces. This gives us a real easy selection. Going to surfaces, doing a filled surface, right clicking, select open loop. That fills the entire end in for us. We can knit these together. We can even apply a fillet to one of these edges. Keep in mind a 10 millimeter fillet is going to be a little bit large, but if we kick that down to say a 2 millimeter fillet, Gives us a pretty close representation to what we see in our reference image. Let's take one more look. And you can see we have a tight fillet rounded edge here. We have a nice blend into the steering wheel. In our SolidWorks model, if we turn our edges off, you can see we get a really nice blend into the surrounding geometry of our steering wheel. Now, obviously, you can spend as much or as little time as you want in these areas to make sure that you perfect the geometry you're creating. But it's always important to note that the geometry of your surrounding surfaces needs to be good and clean without any extra tension in them in order to create some nice clean geometry. That concludes the video on blending the lower spoke.